2.
Hello, hello, and greetings, everybody. Welcome to another exciting and awesome Zelda Link to the Past randomizer race. And already, we're starting off with an amazing flute in the Sanctuary.
That is pretty amazing. Good evening, gentlemen, and of course everybody else as well. We have In the Name of DT and in Final Form here. That is a pretty good matchup, to say the least. And yeah, we should have some really fun stuff going on here. As we see the Moon Pearl straight away as well. Oh man, that is a phenomenal beginning here. So, yeah, Flute and Moon Pearl straight away. That is really good. It's interesting seeing the different approaches here as well. Seeing one person go to Uncle straight away and the other person go to the Sanctuary. It's Final Form giving us a sweet, sweet serenade with the flute there. Definitely appreciate it. And I actually was not paying enough attention to see that. I think I saw 2 crystals in the map there. As the flippers in the woods. What is going on here? Well then, no need to do any fancy shenanigans here. That does actually stop the Hula Hand rune from being used right now, which is a little bit unfortunate. As we see the most important rupee of the game show up here. Final Form also seeing arrows there, not anything too spectacular coming from the pull trees and whatnot. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I apologize if I missed stuff at the start here. I had to kind of get myself set up last second here, as always with these fun things. But it is okay. We are good to go now. Looks like DT did get some bombs as well, so maybe he pulled the blue tier or the red tier as well as the green. So that's pretty useful. Definitely helps too to have those around because that just makes this so much easier. But with all the money that Final Form got from the Uncle and well the chest next to Uncle, he doesn't really care quite so much about that. He'll probably just go and buy bombs before actually doing anything anyway. So that is all good. Speaking of money, it looks like there's a lot more in the blind basement anyway, so there's not really much of a use for Hula Hand here. That is perfectly fine. Because you can't do it when you've got flippers and no roots, so it helps to just get all the money that you need, but having early flippers and also a lot of money kind of implies to me that you really would want to go to Zora sooner rather than later, so that's fine. Nice activation of the flute here from Final Form. He is getting that done before going to buy any bombs because he has that in the menu. So you did see a bottle as well. Nice blue mail, so that's pretty good. Get yourself a little bit of defense at the beginning. That's always nice. And yeah, some fun stuff to be had already. Probably going... welcome back. Probably going to need to get some more bombs, just buying them as well. But with there being 300 from the chest next to Uncle, there won't be any problem with buying some bombs here as well. You still will have enough for Zora.
Greetings, everyone. I apologize for my microphone doing damage to all of your ear canals.
It's okay. I'm sure everybody will forgive you. Twitch
yeah,
is a very forgiving place, right?
Yeah, no one ever makes fun of anybody or holds anyone accountable too long for anything. Come on, it's the internet. So already we've got a pretty interesting seed going here.
Surprise chicken! I would say, can we put that item back in the chest though? Getting the boomerang out of the chicken house. Probably my least favorite item in the game. So, you know, I just don't like the boomerang at all. 10 arrows from the sick kid too. So that bottle that got picked up really just nothing. Never mind.
Nothing throws you off like a false positive bottle early in the seed, because you're like, hey, maybe this is a progression item, and then it almost never is.
Yeah, but at the very least, they got it in Kakariko, so it's not that big of a deal. I like the fact of DT's buying bombs here because on the off chance that there are no more bombs around, just buying those so that you can do the South Light World stuff is really good. Alright, so what are we going to see from the race game heroes? We already know what Final Form is going to find inside there. Just a piece of heart. That's good and bad at the same time. It's good that you don't actually need the item, but it can be kind of bad because at the same time you sort of want to get boots early, right? I totally missed a validation hour. How did I manage to miss that? Alright.
So one of the several meme chests.
Yeah, there was something incredibly important in there. I like this play from DT too, though. Having the flute available, so instead of starting from Link's house, just being able to flute to Link's house, really good. You're just going to miss out on the Moon Pearl for a while, though.
Yeah, taking advantage of early flutes in your routing is a good way to really shave off, 5 or 10 seconds here or there, and over the course of a whole run, it can really add up to a lot of save time.
Absolutely.
I have to admit, while I was wrestling down bad mic issues, I did miss it. Where was the Moon Pearl, my friend?
It is at Uncle, so not too far out the way. I imagine if we find a sword sometime soon, then that would be a relatively quick check, just because you'd go there as you were going to Hyrule Castle.
Yeah, that seems pretty logical. I don't think a lot of runners tend to put off escape for too long in this mode nowadays.
No,
Uncle has all the best jewelry.
That tends to be my trick to put off escape, but I always go Uncle first, so that's a bit of a reason. But yeah, I put off escape way longer than I probably should, to be honest.
Yeah, it always feels like there's something really good in escape almost every time, except on the seeds where I check it early. Then there's never anything there.
Yeah. Interesting to see both players actually go and drain the dam before getting the chest here, though. Normally, the way that I would like to do this is I would like to drain the dam second, because if it happens to be boots in that chest, you can use the boots to dash up and hit the switch. It really isn't that much of a difference, because you can see they just go straight in and it's already drained anyway. So it's not a huge difference as we see the hook shot coming out.
Hook shot in the generous guy cave.
Nice. So that is Death Mountain access because they have the flute, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. With the Moon Pearl, their options are definitely open for some fake flip ring shenanigans. Isn't Even My Final Form does have the money for it. Yeah,
because 300 rupees were also at Uncle's area, so combine that with the 300 that was in the Kakariko as well, and yeah. So DT
both these runners
hook shot.
Dark Room hook shot, not too bad.
No, this is like the only time where a boomerang is actually useful, though, in my opinion, because the boomerang you can use diagonally, so I find it a little bit easier to use the boomerang instead of the hook shot to see where I'm going in these areas.
Boomerang does also have the advantage of being in motion while you move yourself, so you kind of get a little bit more sense of where you're at.
Yes. And the obvious thing is if you've got a sword, none of that really matters. Usually the sword is what you want for darkroom navigation, but... So interesting, Final Form is actually going to Ice Rod Cave as well. Oh, don't die, DT!
DT just eating cabbage.
Yeah, ouch. At the very least, we have the save quit point on the mountain, because he did rescue the old man. So
yep, that's not a huge time loss.
It's
this early in the seed with kind of how dry heart containers have been. 4 hearts is not a ton of hearts, especially with stuff that does flat damage regardless of armor, like the boulders in Death Mountain.
Oh yeah, 4 hearts red mail is kind of a funny thing. Okay, now it's 5 hearts red mail. Okay then, that makes all the difference. Right? I mean, sometimes it can, but let's be real.
We're nothing but real here in the Link to the Past Randomizer tournament, Cal.
So I've heard.
Another heart container that DT is going to see and probably not pick up.
Yeah, I would not expect that one to get picked up.
Okay.
The only time I could see that getting picked up is if you're intended to save quit anyway. Like if he got the hammer on the East Death Mountain here, and then went for Tower of Hera, and that was his final spot. Because we know that he can't get Moon Pearl up here, so...
Nope, and the top of Death Mountain by Hera is either mirror or hammer locked currently, so...
Yeah.
Now
So,
we get to see what's at the hobo here.
Yeah, because of the money situation. Just a heart piece. Because of the money situation, this makes a lot of sense for... Oh, and the mushroom too. Cave mushrooms, huh?
They've got that extra flavor that just, you know, goes well with everything.
Hey. They're the guile of the mushroom world.
the mushroom theme is just tripping. Hey, see, there's another advantage of the boomerang. You can use it to flick that switch.
Yeah, I guess, if you don't want to use them, which is perfectly fine. I love the Final Form's use of the flute there, by the way. Nice magic, good stuff. If you noticed, Final Form, because he had the flippers as well as the flute, used the flute, ooh, power glove, using that straight away when he was at the outside hobo area, because he was able to stand and therefore use the flute. Really good. Excellent awareness there.
Yeah, it's nice to actually have the flippers and do the intended route for once when you're going to the Zora area. Didn't mention it too much, but in the name of the DT did pick up the bow in Eastern Light World Death Mountain. That's always a nice
fantastic find. Yeah, I actually missed that. That is also very good. It's getting
one of those items that is always required every seed.
Yep. And with good knowledge of the darkrooms as these guys will have, that is just Eastern Palace straight away, which is a crystal according to our tracker, so...
Time to see what the reward was for non-boot Spiral Cave, and it was just a piece of art.
Well, at least it gave the heart container, that is something.
Yeah, and for DT, you only have 5 hearts.
Yeah. Alright, so the glove leads you to the back of the skate, which is pretty good. As DT's gonna cash in this mushroom straight away.
I'd imagine that IsntEvenMyFinalForm will probably head up to Death Mountain after he checks the back of Escape here.
Yeah.
But I've been wrong before.
So, kind of the interesting thing from DT here, this is something that I would oh, the hammer! There we go, that is Darkworld right there. I would actually normally consider nowadays using a save quit before checking this mushroom, because if it turns out to be useless, you can still keep that mushroom and use it for the powderless strats with the Cane of Samaria. So that is something that I consider doing myself nowadays. You could have save quit after getting Spiral Cave done and went with that. But that also requires that you find Cane of Samaria, so it's not really a guarantee. Man, 13 minutes and we're already in the Dark World. That is impressive. So, it's interesting though that even though DT doesn't have access to the Dark World like Final Form does here, Silvers, that is such a good find with the bow already found. Even though he doesn't have access to it, that doesn't mean that he has nothing he can do. That's one of the really fun things about the way this is set up, is that DT can still make perfectly good progress here by doing Eastern Palace. And there's the book in Hype Cave. Alright, I mean, it's not the most hype it could have been, but it's still pretty good. But yeah, especially with how good these guys are with darkrooms, I know there's no problem with that whatsoever. That does allow the very, very nice clear here, and even if there turns out not to be anything in here, it's a crystal that needs to be done, so DT is still making good progress here. That timer font is from Earthbound, I believe, the DT's font. Right, so will admit, I kind of seeing some issue stuff here. Didn't actually see if Final Form has had anything too substantial. Doesn't really look like it. So, little bit of a weak check here, but that's fine. This is something you've got to do anyway, and I don't know, like, it's always frustrating the way this ends up working out, right? Because you kind of want to have lots of good stuff down here. Like, if he finds Titan's Bit, you can go straight up to the Village of Outcasts, and that would be very good. But, unfortunately, just a blue rupee there. It's always an interesting thought of, would you actually rather go and go to Village of Outcasts directly with the stuff that you've got and then work your way down towards Hype Cave? Or is it better to stay at the top? I don't know. Like, just do things the way that's been done here. Because this has required a save quit. Whereas, otherwise, you know, you could do Thieves Town. Thieves Town might be a little bit dangerous at the moment, but it is a crystal, so... I don't know. It's always an interesting thought, like which way round you want to actually do these things. Looks like Final Form is using the boomerang instead of the hookshot. I think maybe initially started with a hookshot and going, nah, that's silly, I'm going to do this with the boomerang here. So yeah, no problem whatsoever with the darkrooms from either player so far. A little bit of annoyance with the random movement of the mini stealthers here, but the hookshot makes very nice work of that particular room. It gets irritating when a mini stealthers ends up getting in the way though of the hookshot itself, because then you're trying to hook onto the pot and the mini stealthers just walks in the way and is like, I don't want you to do that. I'm gonna be a jerk. Oh, the powder though. There goes my mushroom theory. Okay, so the powder is a pretty good find. Even if you don't want it for the actual safety net aspect, it does give you an item. And it often makes menuing a little bit easier too when you look at it. Because the powder itself is in that sort of spot where you can go bomb to powder to mirror. So that's always quite convenient. As having a little bit of trouble in the darkroom here. These guys do one set harder damage to the Igors, even if you have the red mail. So you have to be very careful around them. This is where I would consider resetting the room here. Because if you miss this guy the first time... Right, so we see where he is now with that. Excellent, picked up the key. And it looks like we are up. Excellent. Good job, DT. Yeah, a little bit of trouble if you don't get that guy at the start. Usually, I would aim to get the arrow shot into him before he starts moving at all, because at least that way you can see when he's tracking, when he's following you. If you've got the fire rod, by the way, then you can use the fire rod, just turn left or right as soon as you enter that room, and the fire rod will light a torch, and you're done. Alright, so Final Form picking up his half magic here. It's pretty good. The difference here though, because of the hammer pickup, Final Form can do Tower of Hera here, which I think is what is gonna happen first. And man, Silver Arrows sure do destroy that guy. Good cape to find though. Again, another one of those that sort of synergizes with the bomb mirror situation, so that you can easily switch between stuff in the menu. Also has that one item associated with it, and is another kind of undervalued safety in a way. I know a lot of people like to use it in Vitreous fights, but there's a lot of places where it makes sense to use the cape.
Yeah, I'd say if you don't have silver arrows, but have boots and cape, Vitreous is almost as easy as having it with silver arrows.
Yeah. So it almost looked as if Final Form got completely stuck there, but all he was doing was looking at the floating islands, so I think he still got to see what it was. So wasn't too bad to get rock blocked there. Oh, going straight in with Tower of Hera here, not actually checking the Bombos tablet first. Not Bombos, Ether. It's a tablet, it counts, it's green, right?
He's got the literacy for it. He's like, I'm gonna read that nerd tablet later.
Yeah,
It's easier to figure out on your way out. You know, if you already know you're committed to Hera, you're already walking right by it. Can't say I blame him too much for it.
Nope. Looks like this is not forced basement at the moment, which is reasonable. Although when it's a crystal Hera, I always kind of like it to be forced basement. Although you wouldn't want it in this situation because you don't have a fire source, but I kind of like it if it's forced because that way you know that any player of the seed has to do it. And so it's not a waste of time at that stage. If you have to risk there being an item down there, it gets kind of nasty.
Yeah, I think the delayed Death Mountain routing has really helped out IsntEvenMyFinalForm, just with the way he's been able to kind of mop up a lot of these locations that DT was unfortunately not able to check when he went here earlier.
Yeah, and this is something... Oh, he's going for the bomb jump. Okay.
It's tricky. It's only got a 2-pixel window to set it up without boots, so I'm always impressed with people who...
I can do that jump, but I almost never go for it if I can avoid it, because if you fail that, it's a massive time penalty. That is...
drop down 2 whole floors.
It's about 45 seconds, I've been told. Oh, don't fall down that one. About 45 seconds, I've been told. It's to the point where if I've got the hookshot like they have now, I will actually hookshot across and attempt the much more difficult bomb jump on the other side, because that time you only fall down 1 hole. It's pixel perfect, but if you don't get it, you only fall down 1 floor, and it's, much, quicker of a time thing. As DT did pick up his boots here, he's going to need to make his way over to the back of Escape to get that hammer boosting.
Yep.
But he also needs to make his way to the front of Escape so he can get the moon pearl from the uncle.
He can't escape from having to do Escape, Cal.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Speaking of unable to escape, Moldworm unable to escape the intense hammering from IsntEvenMyFinalForm.
How did the hookshot go through that bush there? What?
There are a couple of things that you can't hookshot that you think you'd be able to. Like there's that one, like any of the skull pots in Thieves Town that have the bunny beams underneath them.
Yeah, but that's
bounces off of them.
Final Form, what are you doing? You're not checking the tablet.
I was joking when I said it was nerd stuff, man. You still have to check it out.
Go back! Oh no! Well, I guess we'll never know what was in there.
I'd say with the way the book seems to be treated in version 26, people don't often have it early in the seed and be up in Death Mountain. It might have just slipped his mind. I hope that's not the case.
Hopefully the ice rod wasn't in there, because that would cause some issues.
IsntEvenMyFinalForm doing the walk of shame through Spiral Cave without boots?
Yeah.
At least you have hookshot, though. You can tickle beam all the enemies in there. It doesn't feel quite so bad.
Oh, it's pretty good when you can get away with that. Just 20 rupees to the beginner here.
Alright, let's see if DT is going to try to head to Escape.
Oh, starting at the house, so maybe.
It's looking good. Looking good.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the hookshot, not the flute equipped. Ah, there we go.
Okay, so that's good. He does have silver arrows, so it's very easy to kill all the enemies in Escape here. So that won't be a problem.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a real open seed when you're, pushing 25 minutes and still no sword.
Give it another hour yet, then it's a true open seed.
That is true. I actually really, although you've got the hammer early, so everything I just said is not true. It's not a real open seed.
I think I've had several seeds where I've had to do like 5 crystal dungeons without the sword before I could get any of them, and that's pretty fun, to be honest. Like, the only reason I needed a sword to get into Ganon's tower was because Misery Mire and Teleport were required. So that's interesting, because you don't normally get to use your other weapons quite that extensively.
Yeah, it is the beauty of open mode. It allows a little bit of creativity. And, being able to execute those alternate strats looks cool, and it feels cool to do it.
Oh, yeah. So we are going to get the front of Escape checked before the back here. Hopefully there is actually something useful here.
That's always the dream. In the meantime, IsntEvenMyFinalForm finishing up a dungeon that DT has already finished up. But this will put him 1 crystal in the lead.
Interesting to see the silver arrows instead of, say, the hammer here, because obviously, you know, the hammer would be much easier for Final Form to use when he gets here, but because DT doesn't have it, it's interesting to seeing what you have to do instead, you know?
Yeah, it's that is a really good point. It's always interesting to see the different ways the runners like to approach places like this. It's a good chance for some creativity with the items that you have. Although silver arrows just pew pew lasers kills everybody, so.
Oh yeah. I love it. The guy just getting stopped by the treasure chest, like, please just let me die.
Just let me die. Let the silver horrors end. He's secretly a werewolf, so that was like extra painful.
Oh wow. Yep. Okay. Could be just like an Enter the Gungeon when you get silver bullets, and yeah, silver bow, same sort of thing here.
Did you just reference Enter the Gungeon? Awesome.
Oh yeah, that game is great.
One of those games that I love and I'm super bad at. Speaking of super bad, not a whole lot great in the bottom of Escape, unfortunately.
Yeah, but at the same time, this is a perfect opportunity to go and check the other side too, which is exactly what we need DT to do here because the hammer, yeah. But he did also pick up the map. I didn't see if he picked up a small key as well. So it might be that the small key is in the dark chest in Escape, but it could also be that I didn't see before whether the small key was actually one of these three. And if there is, that means there's an item in that dark chest.
Yep, we'll find out shortly here. No key in inventory.
It is, so there is an item in the dark room that neither player has gotten yet.
That is a dark room that is kind of annoying. Getting the setup to actually open that last chest in there in the dark is a little annoying with all those snakes and bats flying around.
Yeah, I've only recently, as in within the last month or so, actually like figured out a way to reliably get that myself. As it turns out, there are two torches on the right-hand side, right, where the chest is, and if you are lined up below the top torch, you're actually parallel with the chest. So you can walk to the left, you'll get stopped by the chest, and then you just walk down and left a little bit, and you're in front of it to open it.
Pretty well executed Dark Eastern Palace Igor room there by IsntEvenMyFinalForm.
Yeah, that was a lot better. That was a lot better than what DT had. Although Final Form doesn't look like he has silvers before getting in here, because he did not go to Shahabadu first.
That's correct. He'll, as somebody in chat pointed out a little bit ago, he'll enjoy the sweet irony of finding silvers after finishing up Armos.
And this is something that I kind of like to do myself, actually, is if I have the glove when I'm coming this way round from the flute portal, then I love this bush throwing. I don't know. It's just amusing.
Bushwhacking.
Oh, and he doesn't get the one cycle on the Agos. Yeah, if I'm coming from that side and I have the glove, then I will usually do the same thing as what Final Form has done here. Because, it's just quicker to get this way, because you don't have to walk all the way up from Sahashula's cave, little hut thing. And you can just kind of go straight up to Eastern and then straight left to the hut.
Oh yeah, it always feels good to tighten your routing like that. Although you're not often in a situation where you have the flute and the gloves early and you're checking Eastern late. So props to him for making that connection and saving himself some walking time.
Yep. So it looks like DT was just double checking there whether Thieves Town was actually a crystal, which it is. So this was the situation I was actually talking about before, where Final Form went straight for Hype Cave and then went up to below Village of Outcasts, whereas DT has gone from the Village of Outcasts and will work his way down instead. I think DT's route has been slightly more effective here. Nice lamp find. Ooh, that's our first fire source.
Yeah, that feels good.
Yeah, definitely.
Most of these runners are definitely qualified to do dark rooms very well, but it's always better if you don't have to do it.
Yes. But yeah, I like the way that DT's done this slightly more, because he has the opportunity to clear more in one sort of fell swoop than Final Form did.
Yeah, he's definitely going to catch up a little bit of time that he might have lost from his Death Mountain slight inefficiencies compared to IsntEvenMyFinalForm.
Yeah. Speaking of, Final Form is going to the front of Escape now. Nice fairy pickup for DT. It's always nice to have that little bit of safety when you've got empty bottles anyway.
Yep, although red mail will make a lot of the incidental damage not hurt quite so much, but
Yeah,
better safe than sorry.
It's always the set damage that you're worried about. The spikes, the fireballs, the BMOs, stuff like that.
It is worth noting that DT did not swing into the meta important Skull Woods before heading down to Thieves Town.
Yeah, that is definitely a good point.
Skull Woods, one of those dungeons that always seems to pay out in this current version of the logic. He might be planning on routing it later, or just trying to do it, you know, when he's got the fire rod.
Yeah. Final Form looks like he's getting himself set up for a death warp here. That's going to be kind of tough with red mail, to be honest. Because you can't necessarily use the bombs for that quite so easily. And I think the ball and chain guards, I know they do reduce damage from blue mail, so I think it might get reduced further from red mail. So that might actually be kind of difficult to set the death warp up here.
Yeah, I think it's all half heart apiece. I think you are correct.
Okay. Well, if it's half heart apiece, even with red mail, that'd be fine. But I'd be worried that the ball and chain guard only does a quarter, because it normally does one full heart, but the blue mail it does half. So I think it would. I would want to say it would get cut again, but actually I'm not entirely sure on that.
I have a feeling we're about to find out, my friend.
Yeah. Let us investigate. Except
oh, no, he just straight up murders him. We're over here just doing math. I got my calculator out. Tel's got like a, you know, Wolfram Alpha open, and then just disappointment.
Yeah, because it's much harder to use bombs to death warp when you've got red mail, because they definitely only do quarter of a heart. So you've really got to plan ahead a lot if you want to death warp with red mail. Alright, so I was mentioning before that neither player has checked this one chest in the dark. Well, Final Form is about to go and prove me wrong.
And he's doing it without a sword with a hookshot, it appears, too.
Yeah, this could be tricky.
The first room not quite so bad because the rats aren't quite as annoying, but it's the snakes in the second and third room I think that always tend to throw me when I come at it from this side.
I tell you what though, I always get hit by those rats if I'm just trying to move diagonally through that room. There's always one rat that's walking along the right wall. You
are so right. I hate those rats.
It's just so irritating.
It's because if they're coming at you while you're walking toward them, your vision in that lamp cone is so small. The reaction time is surprisingly little, so you always just get bit by a rat and you're like, really? And this is what my life has become?
Okay. Looks like he got the item, but I didn't get to see any sort of thing of what it could be.
Yeah, it was dark. I wasn't watching the top of his screen. I don't know if it was like an arrow or a bomb or anything.
Yeah, that's something I need to pay a bit more attention to myself in my own runs. It's, okay, have I gotten bombs or arrows off of this? Because I can't see anything different in my inventory.
Well, speaking of not seeing anything good, DT, while successfully completing this crystal dungeon quite quickly in his progress, has not been much interesting in Thieves Town.
So interesting to see Final Form just flute over to look at what was on the ledge and then immediately piece out of that area. Not checking Agina, not checking inside Desert at all. Granted, I mean, Desert is a pendant, so you might not actually need to finish that dungeon. Could be an interesting check.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the check now that I think about it. You know, he's got a lot more, like, logic complicated places to check.
This is an awkward fight for DT here. This will be why he picked up the fairy before, because hammer only on this boss is surprisingly difficult.
Yeah, that hitbox for the hammer is real tight.
Just a red rupee from the magic bat here, so there's nothing useful to pick up in that sense. Yeah, even with red mail, the fireballs and the lasers, I think, will still do a harder damage here. So, oh, nicely done.
Oh, wow.
That could have been bad.
Always had it. Never had to worry about the fairy guys. Large margin of safety there. Don't worry about it.
So, definitely worth having that safety though, and that's going to carry on for a while now. That's basically DT does not have to worry about death in this in pretty much this entire run now. That fairy could also be used for like Spike Cave if he really doesn't have magic for it. Unlikely, but could still happen.
It's nice to have up your sleeve for times where you might be needing it. Looks like we're going to be getting a bumper cave check pretty quick here.
So, something that's often forgotten about this cave is you actually do need a glove as well, and there's a sword. That is good.
Man, I remember when
need a glove here.
I remember when open mode was no swords. Come on.
Well, this could put more fuel into checking Skull Woods, which is what Final Form's going to do right now. I've seen Fire Rod in Skull Woods too many times recently. It is definitely plausible, and if it is in here, DT would be able to finish this in one shot, whereas Final Form will have to come back out. Ooh.
Alright, sword pickup 35 minutes into the seed. Feels good, man.
You know what? That is not actually that bad at the time for having first sword. So this bomb jump...
Silvers and hammer.
Yeah. So this bomb jump, even though it's identical to the Tower of Hera one, I am perfectly fine going for, as we find our first shield too. I'm perfectly fine going for that one, because if you fall there, then you don't fall down 2 floors. You know? Yeah, it's a bit of a big difference.
The cost of failure is much lower. And heck, even if you die, if you came out the front of that entrance, you just get teleported right back there, so...
Exactly. Looks like we're not seeing the... Oh, ouch. We're not seeing the final room checked for Final Form here, the big key chest. TT, what are you doing?
it isn't even his final room.
Oh, I see what you did there. Okay.
That chest is really annoying because those Gibdos wander around, and without Samaria or, you know, it's annoying to check. You do have a boomerang and other things you can use to stun those Gibdos, but you know, it's a choice to skip it. I can't say I blame him.
Yeah, I just hope for his sake that that's not the final location somewhere could be. Interesting strat from DT here. This is actually something that you can often forget about as well. That the hook shot is long enough to actually reach all the way across here. And this is the quote-unquote vanilla way to get this. I know you're supposed to drop down the pit and whatnot, but if you've done the other dungeon first, if you've done Swamp Palace, then hey, you've got a hook shot for a reason.
All these vanilla strats, I'm offended, sir. Oh, we are going to see DT check that room we were talking about with the Gibdos and the Switch, so we'll see if this pays off.
I have a feeling he's going to save quote after he's checked this. So this seems to be a decent sort of final spot for him. In his... Oh, God!
Oh, he got wall mastered! Oh, no.
He was trying to push the statue a bit quicker by jostling up and down, as you'll see him do now. For some reason, that makes your movement not nearly as slow about it. But that exact movement is what got him caught by the Wallmaster.
He was just trying to warp out to reset the room, Kappa.
Okay, so he's not just leaving. So where do you think he's going to go? Do you think he's going to go South Darkworld, or do you think he's going to go Catfish?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of places he could go that would be efficient from here. And I'm out of ideas. I mean, Catfish would be the next logical choice if he's deciding to walk out of here.
Yeah, because DT hasn't checked South Darkworld yet. He went straight to Village of Outcasts rather than... And it looks like that is the direction. Lovely hookshot there. That is great.
Yeah, I could have seen, you know, heading over toward Catfish, maybe swinging down by, you know, Pyramid, or maybe doing like some kind of pod play, since you have... Even though it is a pen and dungeon, you know, you have the lantern and the bow and the hammer. So the seed might be wanting you to go there, but walking from there would not have been the most efficient way to do it. So
no, I think if I was to do this, I would have probably wanted to save quit out of that room once you got the small key from the big key chest, and then I would have looked at Palace of Darkness myself, because as you say, it's something you can complete. And that is pretty valuable. I mean, this is P26. There is no such thing as a poor location, you know. Two
pen and dungeon minimum is always my mantra when I'm running V26.
Yeah. That's not inaccurate.
But yeah, I think isn't even my final form doing kind of the Skullwoods check first and then swinging down here? He'll be able to kind of continue that swoop, whereas DT had to go kind of up and down the entire village of outcasts, maybe a time or two extra.
Yeah,
a small time loss, but those little things do add up over the course of a run, Cal.
Yeah, they do. But if you notice what final form has not gone and checked, Bumper Cave. He doesn't have the sword, so he's gonna have to get that. Well, maybe not have to, but he's gonna want to get it.
Or he'll kick himself later if he ends up having to go there.
Yeah. So.
Because there are the sword is one sword is at least required for Skullwoods, and you do need at least Master Sword to beat the game. So. I have a feeling we'll be seeing more hammer strats out of Isn't Even My Final Form. Although he's probably secretly hoping that there'll be a sword somewhere in this dungeon.
Sure, but there really isn't any other method that he could use here. Not even Cane of Samaria, which is usually the most fun way of taking this boss down. So stun prize is just hearts. I say just hearts, that's actually pretty good. But the stun prize is hearts.
It's worth pointing out that 40 minutes into the seed, DT finally learned how to read.
Yeah. So, fun little fact I actually saw on the other race that's going on just now between Ben and Cransoon, you can hookshot the locked doors in that room. I did not know that until I saw Cransoon doing it.
Oh wow, that's a new one for me too.
You could hookshot the big key locked doors there? Like, why did nobody ever tell me this? That's awesome.
Even if it doesn't save you any time, it just looks super swag. Alright, we get a pyramid power check here for DT.
I mean, this could be pretty good. There's a lot of stuff that could still be here.
Pyramid is one of those locations I struggle to route in my normal routing too.
Oh, and it's Titansmith! Oh, yes. Okay, that is the definition of something good.
That's a huge pickup for DT. All right, Cal. So if you're DT and you just picked up the mitts, what do you think the seed's telling you here?
As much as I hate going up Death Mountain multiple times, I've got to say Darkworld Death Mountain. If he's not gonna instantly go pod, that has to be the way that I would want to do this.
I think I would tend to agree with you there. The advantage to going to Death Mountain twice is you do get the information of what what medallion is required for Turtle Rock. Because if you don't know, that's always eating at the back of your mind throughout the entire seed. And he also does have access to the mire area with the mire shed too, and that's another medallion you can look at.
That is often a place I would like to go first out of the two, but at the same time, it's like you don't have the mirror, so there's no way that you can get the checkerboard cave there as well. That's a bit of a problem to me. Oh, the fire rod from Catfish! Oh!
DT getting pickup after pickup.
Oh my goodness, that is something else. I guess this is why they call it a rage rod, right? Because that is one of the most rage-inducing places you could go to get that. Alright, well, now I changed my mind. I'm going Ice Palace. I don't care that it's a pendant.
Even if it's a pendant?
You've just gotten like all the things that you need for that immediately. I would.
In fact, there's a lot of pendant dungeons right now that are super available.
I like the pedestal check here as well, though. Oh. the alert hitbox on these guards is a mystery to everyone. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Always amusing to see. Isn't Even My Final Form does pick up that sword now, so
finally. Hopefully because he's already done the south side of the Dark World, he might well go towards Catfish now. That's what I would like to see him do. I guess he's going to check the one chest he didn't in the... Oh, it's a pedestal seed! Alright, that's it. I am definitely going Ice Palace now. That is it.
Oh my gosh.
I would want to replace the fairy with a potion first, or maybe just get another thing anyway. Looks like DT's going to do Palace of Darkness first, which I also don't disagree with. But
DT sees Pedestal Ice Rod, he's like, alright, apparently this is a jerk seed, so I'm going to all the pendants.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you have to do it anyway. The seed gave him all the items. I think this is a smart play out of Tim.
So yeah, so the funny thing is that we would have been considering this ourselves before we actually saw what Catfish gave. And yeah, now it's definite. That's a... But
yeah,
right.
I mean, the urge to complete pod though, like if you had gone here before you knew about the ice rod on the pedestal, you know, you might have gotten items out of here and just bailed, but now DT knows he has to finish this dungeon.
Yep.
And I'd say with how much the Ice Palace seems to be another one of those dungeons that the logic really prefers, and since DT knows he has to go there anyway because it's a pendant dungeon, you know, he might very well route that in earlier.
The only catch is they might not be able to get that ice rod yet because Desert Palace might not be beatable.
That is true. Yep, there's a pretty good likelihood that either the small or big key is going to be on that torch.
As Final Form is not checking that dungeon either. I'm actually kind of intrigued by that, because if it's boots locked, you find out about that very quickly, and then you can just walk through that dungeon to get to the exit on the right-hand side, and that takes you to Agina's cave anyway. So it's very interesting to see this. I mean, maybe he's going to flute away from here, which is why he's not safe quit, but if he goes into the dungeon now, so it looks like he is. That is curious.
Yeah, the dropout from the east side of desert does definitely save you a little bit of runtime, especially when you don't have the boots.
And when you don't have the mirror, there's no quick access back to the entrance you came out of, so you can't even use the excuse of mirror to flute here.
Isn't even my final form is gonna have to hope for some nice pickups in these locations because with those two checks and the pedestal knowledge, DT has definitely built himself a bit of a lead here.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Real solid mimic room execution from DT there.
Yeah. One thing I do like from all the runs I've seen from DT, from a lot of runners to be honest, something I should learn from myself is is being able to just use the sword to manipulate where the mimics are going. Oh, big key, okay, so this dungeon is beatable. Might not be able to get all the items out of it, but it's beatable.
Well, we'll at least be able to see what's on the
oh, yeah, definitely unlikely to get all the items here. Still possible, but really unlikely at this point.
We'll have to see. I mean, isn't even my final form does not know about the pedestal situation yet, so I'd be surprised if he decided to finish this.
Okay, so there's definitely no chance of getting every item out of this dungeon. But that ice rod is actually available, which is surprising. If we find a medallion here, that could be... We need the Cane of Samaria too, but if we find that and a medallion between these two pendant dungeons, maybe an early Turtle Rock player is not that bad.
Yeah, that would be very reasonable to me.
It'd be a bit of a cruel joke if it turns out the mirror was up there, though.
I don't even know if that's a joke, it's just cruel. Alright, looks like, so DT just going straight toward Helmasaur here. He's out for blood. Did he check
all the stuff?
No, he's, I think he went kind of straight toward the back.
Interesting. Now, Final Form is also not stealing a key in order to check the two chests on the other side here, which I think is a smart play. I've been burned by that too many times myself. Almost every time I end up taking a key in the second half to come and get stuff in the first half, it turns out that I needed to do the... I needed boots in the end, where I could have had a bootless seed otherwise, so...
Yeah, agreed. For those who don't know, stealing a key in desert refers to going to the back of desert that's kind of behind the gloves and taking the key from the pot to use it to check the chest in the front of desert. Logic doesn't really intend for you to do that, so you can kind of get yourself in trouble if you're not careful. But it does get you a look at some chests you might not normally get to look at.
Very nice Helmasaur from DT there. Pretty good recovery for Final Form of the boss there. And it's just a map! There are no items available in Desert Palace. That's painful.
Although, isn't even my final form doesn't know it, but that pendant pickup for him is actually still quite relevant.
Yep. I'm sure he was hoping for an item out of that, though. He's gonna feel like that's put him a little bit behind. Or, you know, in comparison. DT, I guess he's gonna save quit after this, so this is actually pretty smart as well. So getting the ability to do the dungeon in its completeness here, DT actually went straight for the boss and is going to save quit instead of death warping to get away from this afterwards. It's pretty good.
Yeah, mirrorless pod routing definitely has some flexibility, and a lot of it is based on where exactly in the dungeon the big keys and small keys are. So, pretty clever use of what resources he was given here by DT.
I think he can probably deduce that the big key chest has got a small key here as well. If he's not gone up to the top side yet, it's pretty much it has to be, unless he somehow didn't get this chest as well. Oh, he didn't. Okay. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah,
right,
he went straight down the bullocked right side of pod, and once he found the big key, he's like, well, I might as well kill Helmasaur while I'm here.
Right, yep, that makes sense.
In the meantime, IsntEvenMyFinalForm also making a, with the knowledge that he has, I think a pretty smart play toward pod here. But since he doesn't know about the pedestal, he might elect to clear out the items first before going to Helmasaur.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the ice rod is... I was right about that chest anyway, but not for the right reasons.
But all that matters is that you were right, Cal. Come on.
I mean, yes, you're not wrong. But...
I'm right too.
Exactly. Everybody's right. Especially
feels good to be right for once. We'll
But
see how right.
always
We'll see how right these guys are about progression items in pod here. Because outside of the required pendant that they're gonna have to get out of here for pedestal ice rod, it's been pretty dry in the Palace of Darkness.
Yeah. But there's a lot of items that you can get at the end here, so... And I think we are going to see the hammer jump here. I'm actually not sure if I fully agree with this. Because if you're going to save quit anyway, this takes a decent bit of time up. I don't know, it's probably still faster.
Oh, the boots!
Boots! Oh, okay, never mind. Well, forget everything I said then.
Already done.
Clearly, I don't know what I'm talking about. Alright, but this is really good for DT's order here.
Yeah, I have a feeling that he might take these boots thinking that Desert was boot locked and clear it out, and he'll have been wrong, but some of those items are boot locked. Wow, master.
Sword. Nice.
Alright, so, all I had to do was shame Pod into giving up items by saying it was looking pretty dry, and Pod's like, oh, you want items? Here's some items.
Item shaming.
If only that worked in my actual seeds.
I know.
I complain about items all the time and nothing ever shows up.
It would be pretty good, I've got to say. Oh, so fantastic option going here first, rather than going to Ice Palace or what have you.
Yeah, I can't say I disagree with you on that one.
And the Cane of Samaria.
Wow.
What?
Pod just giving up the items left and right here. So now, if you're DT, are you thinking desert, or are you thinking Ice Palace, Cal?
I would rather do desert first because it's faster, and it's also a dungeon that you can then flute straight away from, and go to ice straight afterwards.
Oh yeah, I hadn't considered the fluting. Yeah, you're right. That does make it a really solid play.
So if there's something good in that dungeon, Final Form is in trouble. Like, deep trouble. Because I don't think he's going to want to come back here now that he's got the pendant.
Yeah, the only way I can see him swinging back here earlier than he might plan is if the mirror is coming up eventually and they go check Meyer, he might decide to check the rest of the chests in Desert while he's in the area, but that was a lot of what-ifs I just put in a row there.
Mm-hmm. I do like the fact that we were sort of half right about doing pod early as well, though. Like, even though we wouldn't have known about the pedestal and whatnot, we were thinking, Palace of Darkness is something we can full clear, even though it's a pendant, it could be worth it. Obviously, it was green pendant too, so that kind of makes it extra worth it. But,
and I'm trying to wonder if I had gone to clear out pod first and not known about pedestal, would I have gone all the way to kill Helmasaur? That's a tough call to make.
I would have, because there was an item there.
And the fact that it's green pendant too.
Yeah. Alright, so just a red repeat there. There is one more item in this particular chest up here. So what do we got? Nothing. Okay, so Final Form's gone away with that.
He doesn't know it though. That kind of what if will always gnaw at the back of your mind while you're playing a seed like this.
That said, the majority of the problem items have been found now. We need medallions and we need the mirror, but everything else has been picked up. DT knows he doesn't have to check the big chest because he's got both items, so there's no reason to bother with that, as Final Form is setting up for the Death Warp here. You've got to be a little bit careful because these guys always do one set harder damage, so you don't want to be overzealous with the Death Warp here.
You'd probably take a one hit there. Oh no, alright.
Which I actually had that happen to me in one seed as well with the Death Warp in Hyrule Castle, because I only had the hammer to damage the ball and chain guard, so I was getting myself whittled down, one hit left, hammer misses, and I get killed before I open the chest. But the chest had the map, so it actually didn't matter.
Not so punished over much for your hubris there.
I got away with it, but yeah, it's like you set it up, and then it's like, oh no, the hammer missed and I died.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally playing with fire. You know, when you set up a death warp, you just have to be careful to make sure you time it correctly.
Yep. So
we shouldn't count Isn't Even My Final Form out too much. You know, he is missing some critical knowledge, but he is the entire Tower of Hera up over DT.
Yep.
And all it's going to take is for him to kind of route up toward Catfish and the Pyramid, which a lot of people tend to group together, and he'll be real close on the back of the heels of DT here.
Yep. And you see, one of the nice things about the way that Final Form set this up is that he had Cane of Samaria before going to the end of the dungeon here, and the Master Sword actually, so since he's staying at full health, he won't have to item switch when he goes to this bottom bit here.
Oh, and he gets advantage of the boots for the few places it's useful down here.
Yep, so...
Also, a super clutch, if there's one fight that DT always seems to nail, it's the one cycle Silver's Landmo fight.
Yeah. Alright, so taking an alternative approach here, we're going to have some information scouting. I thought Final Form did go here, but I don't know what the medallion requirement was. It is Ether, okay.
Alright, it's good to know. I can't say I blame him for going here, because I like to know that kind of stuff before I go too far. It's always good to know when you're in go mode. Curious to see if we'll see an Ice Palace play or a Death Mountain play.
Looks like Death Mountain, although this could just be for... No, it is going to be for that. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say this could have just been for the quicker full heal. Because,
I often go to Mountain to get the quick heal from the old man and then a quick flute.
Because it's quicker than the Sanctuary if you don't get bopped by the boulders on the way out.
Plus, it's always good to, stay in touch with your grandpa. He likes hearing about your day, what you've been doing, what you've been up to.
Yeah. Good old Gary. Oh, lucky shot from Final Form there, because Helmasaur had started moving. That could have very easily missed.
You mean a skillful, well-placed, 100% intentional shot?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Completely intentional.
And it's worth pointing out that Isn't Even My Final Form has 2 completed pendants, and he does not know about the pedestal yet.
Yeah, that's interesting in its own right.
His Sixth Sense Troll Seed Jujitsu is starting to show itself.
Alright, DT, show me the mirror in this thing here.
That's right, Isn't Even My Final Form did skip this.
It can't be the Ice Rod anymore, show me the mirror. Damn.
You're so
was wrong.
Show me something important that somebody missed. Blah.
I'm sorry. It's any time that I miss these things, it comes to bite me. So I may be a little bit spiteful at times. I'm sorry.
You've got rando PTSD. Don't worry about it, buddy. There's treatment. You just gotta work in the salt mines, which is ironically playing more rando.
Pretty much. Alright, so we are gonna get a green pendant check from Final Form here. This is something DT has not yet done.
I mean, there's still a lot of items at large. We've got Ether and the Mirror and potentially another medallion. And it's just a heart. And it's even my Final Form giving slashes to Sahasrahla there. Little does he know that green pendant was 100% required for this seed, even though it doesn't look like it quite yet.
So, I have not been paying enough attention to Tower Hero when Final Form went up for this. Was there an item? There has to be an item in the basement, right? Because there was the compass as the first item? The one downstairs at the start?
Yes, there is an item in the basement.
That is another one that Final Form was not able to get at the time because he didn't have a fire source.
Oh, that is correct.
And Final Form is going back to check the stuff in Desert here. I don't blame him. I would really hate to have missed both items in a dungeon like this as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, no Troll Dorm today. Not yet, anyway.
I was gonna say the real Troll Dorm seems to be the second one. Although honestly, if I have the boots, I almost find the layout for Moldorm 2 to be a little easier than the layout for Moldorm 1.
The problem is, every time I do that with Moldorm 2, I always somehow still get hit in the way through him. I'm not entirely sure how that fight works, I will admit.
Yeah, the boot strats make the kind of the long, narrow corridor a little bit easier to pull off, but yeah, it's an annoying fight either way. And speaking of annoying, we're about to sit through an entire tower room sequence here.
Looks like it's tea time. No, that is not a fire rod, DT. You can't use that to get yourself set up here.
Swing and a miss. Oh no, they got hit.
Anyway. No tea time for you, DT.
Nope, he's got to dodge tiles. No beverages for that guy.
This is not DT time. So, though we have got some checks here that DT has not yet done, because I don't... Yeah, he started from the house rather than from the sanctuary, so...
That is correct. Although, since IsntEvenMyFinalForm has not visited either the Pyramid or Catfish, he does not have the mitts or the mirror to do the King's Tomb.
Right. Yes, so this is going to be an interesting one of where do you go from here?
Oh, the troll single green rupee.
Oh
no! Both of these runners going back to check locations and just getting hosed by money.
Yeah, although I like DT's approach there because that is something, again, that Final Form was not able to do. I'm sure Final Form would just be hoping to never do that.
Ooh, is this a pyramid check?
Yeah, I believe it would have to be. I think it was just checking which ones are crystals 5 and 6 there, just to be sure that that wasn't going to become a problem.
I'd be curious to see if he decides to continue to catfish since he's in the area, or if he's going to take those mitts and keep running around and checking other locations.
Yeah, you'd worry that you would just save quit and go to where DT is now.
Because when DT was here, he had a lot less kind of options on his table.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas IsntEvenMyFinalForm has a lot more places he can check with these gloves.
Nope, he's sticking with his guns. This is good.
I like it.
This is what we want to see.
Meanwhile, DT scaling Dark Death Mountain. Not a whole lot exciting in the so-called Super Bunny Cave there.
So yeah, this is one of the most annoying places to root in the entire game, and I am really glad to see Final Form do this right now. I didn't actually see what the...
I was just about to ask if you saw it. DT's screen jumped in and out on my broadcast. Chad, help us out. What was Turtle Rock?
Oh, apparently it was the mirror. I thought I saw some of that there. Apparently we did actually just get the mirror as well.
Well,
so...
we're super bad, and by we, I mean me specifically.
I thought I saw something, but I wasn't entirely sure because... Oh, DT, please. Because I wasn't actually, fully aware of that at the time. Like, you don't even have the excuse if there was an item on the jelly there. Come on.
Well, DT was just providing a visual representation of my failure as a commentator for noticing the mirror. So, everyone's on the same page here. I like it.
Alright, so it looks like it was Aether for both, which is interesting. That exact medallion being required for both has happened in one of my races too, so... Yeah.
Yeah, well, one in 3 chance of both locations having the same medallion requirements, so not crazy town odds.
Alright, so Final Form is going to check the rest of Skull Woods here. Unfortunately, does not have the mirror to check the pedestal at the same time. So this could come... That just the knowledge in general could come back to bite him a bit here.
Yeah, that is a little unfortunate. Although he has already picked up 2 of the 3 required pendants. The only thing I could see hurting him is if he goes to Ice Palace just on an item hunt. His urge to clear it is going to be a lot less than DT's.
Yeah, especially because it isn't green pendant. That's a problem.
Looks like DT's got the same Skullwoods idea.
Yeah, this is not bad at all because you can then work in the Dark World Overworld stuff that the mirror requires. So this is not bad.
I'm a little surprised he chose to come here before getting the last pendant, though, for his pedestal pull. He could have taken care of all of them in kind of one fell swoop.
Yeah, I was thinking similarly myself there. I mean, you know, I've said I've wanted to go Ice Palace for a long time now, so I would have done it before this. But at the same time, this could still turn out to be really good. Who knows? Maybe Tempered Sword is in here, which would help out a lot during Ice Palace.
Yeah, agreed.
I think we only got one item in here, right? So the shield? I don't think
yeah, the shield was in the big key chest, and I think that's all we've seen. But Tap Magic, Fire Rod, Master Sword, Mothula, not too bad of a fight, especially for runners of this caliber here.
No.
Pretty much everybody in this tournament capable of doing even a low heart Fighter Sword Mothula.
Yeah, that was one thing I had to do recently in a practice run was, I think it was about 7 hearts Green Mail Fighter Sword, no half magic.
It sucks.
Yeah, it is pretty terrible. But, you know, if you can pull it off, you feel so good for doing so.
The key word there was capable of pulling off. I didn't say pulling off every single time, Cal.
Well, I mean, if you've ever seen any of my practice streams of doing that fight, every time is a massive overstatement.
But you've done it once, right? You're capable of it? Help me out here.
Yeah. Yeah, so the last item is in this most annoying of chests here. Yeah, it really is
that
interesting.
chest really sucks to get without the mirror.
Yeah, this is almost a guaranteed save quit for Final Form when he gets this. DT does... Oh, Quake. It's Quake! That is entirely worthless.
It is.
Well, okay, I say it's entirely worthless. You could use it to kill the penguins in the Ice Palace, and that's about it.
Wait, also, it gets rid of Dead Rocks, the most annoying enemy in the game.
This is true. This is true. I mean, let's ignore the fact that they got powder on that one. This is true. Yeah. It can also kill Wizrobes too, but...
But Wizrobes have got those, you know, cute-looking robes and pointy hats.
Yeah, so you shake the ground and it gets rid of the hat, right? And then they die out of embarrassment? Yeah, that's how it works, right?
Yeah, they blush too much from having their top of their head exposed and they decide to die.
They're Bertus the Bashful in Zelda form. I love it.
Speaking of Wizrobes, definitely one of my more favorite custom sprites that you can choose for this randomizer.
It's so good seeing a lot of the custom sprites that you have. Like, I mean, I'm biased because Toho, but Marissa is such a great one to have around. Seen a lot of people using it now too. It's massively detailed. A really, really good sprite for that. Final Form is going up for Dark World Death Manly here. Kind of interesting to see that, but he is going to get the mirror off it, so that's going to be worthwhile.
Yep, I think he checked Meyer and now he's checking Turtle Rock. I think he's just looking for that knowledge and deciding to pick up the chests along the way that he can.
Yeah.
Not a terrible play.
So I think we're going to see King's Tune from DT here as well, which is something Final Form wasn't able to do at the time because no Titans met. So again, this could have Ether. Ether is the only thing we're actually missing at this point.
That is correct. Although I wonder if someone in chat pointing out that since he has a medallion, I wonder if Isn't Even My Final Form was debating Turtle Rock if it would have been Quake.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit surprised at the way round then from Final Form, because normally, if I have a medallion but no mirror, the way that I would want to check the stuff here... DT, where are you going? Oh, he didn't do the one dark chest in... Yeah, okay. Normally the way around I would want to do it is I would want to open up the Turtle Rock portal first if I have any medallions. And because if you don't have the mirror, you can't mirror from where, you know, like Hookshot Cave and go up there, right? So if you have a medallion, normally I would want to open up the Turtle Rock portal and see if I can actually open Turtle Rock up itself, because then that sort of opens you up to a play where you can actually go from Hookshot Cave to the inside of Turtle Rock and just get some stuff in there.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's pretty efficient routing too when you do it that way. Oh, it turns out it was 50 rupees in that chest we didn't see.
Right, okay. Final Form's audio was not the one that was on stream, so... speaking of, it looks like he is finally going to check that ether tablet, and is going to be disappointed.
Rewarded with 3 bombs.
DT's finally making the play into Ice Palace.
Alright, time to see what Cal would have gotten about 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, only about 25-30 minutes behind where I'd have got in with this.
Although, okay. In these runners' defense, you know, a lot of the moves they've made in lieu of Ice Palace have actually turned out to be pretty good for him.
And also, yeah, to be fair, they're significantly better equipped than I would have been in here.
The only one I might blame for not going to Ice Palace maybe a little earlier would be DT, since he's known about the pedestal, which IsntEvenMyFinalForm has not. So yeah, I don't blame Final Form at all for it, but
I can see the justification for DT. Oh, come on, Final Form, get this right. I can see the justification for why DT would have left us behind, because if Aether was in Skull Woods and you full cleared this dungeon, it would feel really bad, right? Because if Aether is in Skull Woods, you could just go mode this dungeon and be done with it immediately. At the same time, this now means that he has to go back to the pedestal after he gets this pendant to go get this ice rod. So there's checks and balances in both ways here.
Yeah, the routing efficiency you save from having done Skull Woods and Ice at the same time, yeah, it's like so many things in the randomizer, it's a bit of a gamble.
Oh, too low of a bomb drop to get the shot off here.
Yeah, that's
I had a really weird
you got a pretty big... Oops, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I had a really freaking weird thing with that earlier, where I actually managed to walk around the top of it instead of walking back down when I was trying to get the Stalfos there, so I didn't actually get to set the bomb properly, because like I put the bomb on the tile, but then I couldn't actually get them hit because I somehow walked around the top instead. Nice bomb jump from DT there as well.
Yeah, that bomb jump can, even for experienced runners, can just be a minor troll sometimes.
Yeah, especially if you're using a new sprite, because even though like everything doesn't change when you use a new sprite, but sometimes visually it can be difficult to get your tells right. So
agreed. I think a lot of people have switched to using the shadow instead of like the corner of the ear or the hat, which a lot of people got used to.
So the shadow. Oh, there it is! So I would have had it. There we go. Justified.
Cal's just don't strain your arms trying to pat yourself in the back, man.
There we go.
Good stuff. So now DT is in go mode. He is just gonna blow through the rest of this dungeon. Yeah, this Ice Palace play, with the knowledge DT has of Pedestal, is unfortunately giving him a very large lead over IsntEvenMyFinalForm.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a fantastically quick pedestal seed too, when you think about it, because hour 13 in, we know that the pedestal's required. There's only 2 dungeons to do after this. That is not bad work.
Yeah, and you get to go mode Swamp Palace, which is always
yeah, 3 dungeons. Yeah, that's right. Forgot about Swamp Palace, but like you said, you get to go mode it, so...
Although, I'd say the only thing that might have hurt you, Cal, if you went to Ice Palace first, is having had access to Ether, you might have wanted to full clear some dungeons like Total Rock or Mire, which might have cost you a little bit of time.
Yeah, Mire probably would be the main one.
Yeah, Total Rock's pretty linear, even if you're trying to clear it. Cold Stare with half magic, fire rod, and red mail. Not too terrible of a fight.
So I think if you know that the ice rod is at the pedestal, that would make me a lot less likely to want to go into Total Art, because I know that I can't full clear it. Especially seeing the mirror just outside of it, there wouldn't really have been a whole lot of other stuff that would be necessary at that stage.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that one. I think at this point, Isn't Even My Final Form is going to have to get that pedestal knowledge relatively quickly to not have the gap between him and DT continue to increase.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got the mirror equipped and he's running in the direction of Pedestal, so I can only hope. Nope, he's end salt.
No, he's going to be checking the other overworld stuff here, because, and this is the thing. This is the difference between checking the pedestal and not checking the pedestal. If Final Form had checked the pedestal at any point, he would know where Ice Rod is, so your target would be the pendant dungeons here. Like, I've done 2, which is good, but your target would be the final one to get that ice rod, right? So
yep,
you would, like DT has done, you would prioritize doing those dungeons here.
Yeah, the seeds item placements of ether and boots and a few other things just have really helped. Oh, there's tempered. Really helped DT's early pedestal knowledge, because it's just kind of given him, thanks to his routing choices, just a lot of items that he needed.
Mm-hmm. So Tempered Sword is good. It is going to make a significant difference, but it's not enough at the moment. There needs to be something else to happen here before Final Form is like completely back in this. That said, he is only effectively 1 dungeon behind. So if a pedestal check does come up quickly enough.
Yeah, Isn't Even My Final Form's his name a mouthful. Isn't Even My Final Form's choice to clear out those pendants before he knew about the pedestal is he's going to be real thankful for that, I think. I think that's one of the only things that's keeping him in this game without that pedestal knowledge. In the meantime, DT getting to go mode Swamp, which always feels good.
Yeah, Dalos has got a good point as well, that there is still one more sword to find. GT might have it. I cannot go with me. Great English we have there, but you know, it's okay. I've always found that one quite amusing.
My favorite thing is seeing somebody with the chest sprite carrying around the chest. It's better for me. I can't deal with it.
Oh, that chest is so ridiculous.
Yeah, somebody in chat asking, has the pedestal been checked? Yes, it is the ice rod, as chat has pointed out. So
yeah,
I believe this is DT's second pedestal seed of his tournament, because I think the other one I casted for him was also a pedestal, now that I think about it. So
dang, you're cursed for him.
So some guys get all the luck.
It is.
His opponents are paying me to try to sign up to cast his game so they can just do that early pedestal check.
Yeah, although Final Form seems to have gamed that system a little bit by not having checked that, but you know.
yeah, he didn't pay the fee, man. Although, you know, like I said, his having cleared those 2 pendant dungeons to completion, you know, might be the only thing that keeps him in this game when he finally gets that knowledge.
So where would you go if you were Final Form at the moment, knowing that you have 2 dungeons that you can't complete and 1 pendant? I guess you would have to go Swamp Palace.
I think Swamp is what I would do, since I have everything I need for it, and it is a crystal.
That's really unfortunate.
It is. I would probably do straight to the back, you know, hoping I get something, you know, that leads me somewhere, but unfortunately that is not going to happen.
See, I'm not even sure I would. Like, if I was only missing 1 item, I would, but you're missing 2, and it's very possible that this is where both of them are. I think it would be a bit of a hard sell.
Oh yeah, that's true, because yeah, he doesn't... In my head, I know where Ice Rod is, but yeah, I forgot that he was also missing Ice Rod and Ether knowledge, so yeah, you have a good point.
That is one of the hazards of being a spectator rather than the player in these things, is you always got to think, well, what knowledge do the players have at this time?
Yep. And it definitely, you know, having been on the commentating and racing side, it definitely, you know, you get different mindsets, and
Yes.
the lack of knowledge is definitely, you know, it's definitely easier to watch than it is to play these seeds. That's for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
So we got crystal number 5 picked up for DT. I have a feeling we're going to see a pretty quick mire out of him, and then he'll head up to Turtle Rock.
Yeah, there's really no other way around this here. So, I mean, it could end up being that Misery Mire is big key in the first couple of chests, and we're just instantly straight out of here. That will be the same for Final Form when he eventually gets there, but it's a tough sell because DT has now done everything that Final Form needs to do. Yeah, that could be significantly different. The question is, are we gonna get the legendary bird toss?
Come on, DT, respect the memes. Come on. I believe. Do it. Yeah!
Yep.
Oh, come on!
Oh, the bird carry!
Oh, Jebaited DT.
I don't know about you, but I think that's actually a little bit better. Carrying the bird into the dungeon. I think that's a little bit better in my eyes.
He wanted a souvenir. Unfortunately, it's gonna melt, so he's out of luck. Wow, that was good stuff.
I mean, there is only so long that you can keep frozen chicken before it just becomes unusable, right?
I guess, you know. The freezer burn of ether, you know, does it deep freeze it? The flash freeze? I don't know much about weird pterodactyl, whatever those things are called.
Oh, and it is early big key. Oh wow. Man. Okay. That is really good for DT here. Again, it's going to be great for Final Form when he gets there as well, but it's just, we're looking at, like, overall time at that point. That is so nice. Just, you know, you got to be thinking, okay, that's a really nice mire. Let's just get this done like super quick. And
I'm a little worried if Isn't Even My Final Form continues to avoid the pedestal, he might decide to go into Ice Palace looking for an item, and if he finds ether, you know, I could see him bailing, and that could really backfire for him.
In that case, we would have to hope that Coldstar has an item, because if Coldstar has an item, you're pretty much going to have to full clear the dungeon anyway.
Yep, that would be his saving grace. I don't remember if Coldstar had an item or not.
We only saw one item, I believe, and that was the ether, because DT got a small key in the first chest, so he went straight to the right side at the crossroads, and ether was the first chest there. He didn't even go upstairs in the hammer point. He just got the hookshot chest, and that was ether. So,
you know, go mode with silvers and master sword. I'd probably do the same thing if I was him. Isn't Even My Final Form does have Tempered for Argus, so it is a little bit of a faster fight than it was for DT.
Yeah, it's as I've said, Tempered Sword does make a fairly significant difference. It's just, like, I think Final Form is so far back because of that lack of knowledge of the Pedestal that I'm worried it's not going to make enough of a difference. So you see Ganon Burner from Vitreous there. That's
his reward for carrying a bird throughout the dungeon.
I mean... Yeah, it's a frozen blue bird gets turned into a blue cane. I mean, I could see that.
Yeah. I mean, colors turn into other colors. That's just science, man.
So, there is actually one fun thing that you can do with Ganon Burner here, which is still applicable. And that is, there is an item dash that you can do in Turtle Rock after you do the torch puzzle at the start, where you can item dash through the rollers in the room after that.
Oh yeah, with the Arcane Brina, yep.
Yeah. Alright, so...
I'm impressed that DT remembered to actually turn in his penance to get the... I mean, I've done it before. You get the pedestal requirements, and you're like, alright, I got the penance, like, and in your head you've checked it off, and then you go where you're supposed to go, and like, wait, I never actually pulled the pedestal.
Yeah. Alright, so apparently we've just had the raid from the main channel, so I guess the Kransoon Ben race has just finished. So, to catch us up here, we're about to see the Ice Rod come off the pedestal here. Final Form does not know about this Ice Rod, but he's cleared out 2 of the pendant dungeons anyway. Ether is at Ice Palace, which is also a pendant dungeon. We have had some other kind of neat stuff here. The mirror was on Dark World Death Mountain, which was kind of cool. What was it? The King Samaria, the boots, and whichever item was it?
Master Sword was in...
Master Sword and Palace Dance, okay. Tempered Sword was at the Peg Cave, which DT never did because he knew about the pedestal long before we got to this stuff.
And honestly, it's really been a tale of DT knowing about the pedestal and isn't even my final form not. DT's pedestal knowledge has really just kind of affected his routing and kind of gotten items to him. And unfortunately, isn't even my final form not knowing that has been putting him behind.
Yep.
So DT in go mode heading up to Turtle Rock, his last crystal. And honestly, for a pedestal seed, heading up to your last crystal at 1 hour 25 minutes is pretty impressive, I think.
This is great pace. Not everybody can be Christos in that one weekly that was like a pedestal seed and he finished it in 1 hour 25 and we were all like, what?
Yeah, that was disgusting.
You remember that one then?
I'm still salty about it. That was like a month or 2 ago.
Yeah.
Haven't gotten over it, still mad. I'm not actually mad. I'm salty.
There is a difference.
Yeah,
some people don't.
a small but subtle difference, Cal.
Hey, some people don't appreciate the difference between the two.
Yeah, I agree. Because if you're mad, you don't have enough salt to like preserve a ham, for instance.
Speaking of the salt here, those slashes at the big chest there kind of say it all.
Yeah, I think at this point, even my final form is gonna last ditch over to Ice Palace here.
Yeah.
And,
it's the only place he can really go. He's checked all the overworld and everything as well, except for a graveyard ledge.
Yep. And I think what I mentioned before is I'm just worried that he is going to get Ether out of here and then start heading toward both Mire and Turtle Rock looking for the Ice Rod, and he will be disappointed, unfortunately.
Yeah, so Misery Mire I think he would definitely go to. Would you go to Turtle Rock before... I mean, again, it depends if Cold Stare, if he gets the pendant out of here. But assuming he does get the pendant, would you actually go Turtle Rock before checking the pedestal, even if you're just going to blind pull it?
Not in version 26, man. Although with how little choices that is even my final form has, I mean, I don't think it would be a crazy play. Like, I wouldn't fault him for doing it.
Yeah,
with what he's got and the knowledge he has.
I wouldn't say like it's an awful play. I'm just curious. It's like that's an interesting like question to come up with. Would you actually, not pull the pedestal before doing at least Turtle Rock? Misery Mire, I could see you clearing first, but not doing pedestal before Turtle Rock if you have picked up all of them seems a little bit far-fetched.
Oh yeah, well I mean, at that point you're like, I have to pay off this gamble, whether or not it gives me anything or not, there's no point in not checking it out, I think.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like DT is missing one key from this being the fast Turtle Rock here. So it picked up one non-key item during all of this. Did get a big key though, so... And
isn't even my final form, did actually get the Stalfos kill in Ice Palace. So.
Nice. Good job.
And sets up the pixel for the dash there.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good too. I've not actually tried to do something that way.
Usually when I'm in there and I've got full hearts, I'll just use the sword beams to kind of kill those annoying jellyfish and be on my way. But that's not a bad strat either, actually.
I always love how Dark Link's bunny sprite is just regular Link.
It's because the bunny sprite has so few animation frames. It's always funny to see, regular Link just kind of skating around.
I guess he's looking for a sword, but DT, what are you doing?
Wait, does he have the big key already?
He does. That's why I'm like, what are you doing? You don't need to open that.
He really wanted the red magic boomerang. He wants the inferior boomerang. Of course, Cal hates all boomerangs. So.
Exactly. So
your opinion is on boomerangs is invalid, sir.
I see. Yeah, you do need to pull that first, final form. So this is somewhere DT did not go. And there's the big key for it, okay.
Yeah, I can't really blame Isn't Even My Final Form. I mean, he's looking for items. He's got to clear this dungeon.
Yep. No, I don't blame him in the slightest for this. Yeah, see, if you hadn't have opened that, you'd have just been able to go the rest of this DT.
Cal's just mad at DT for his routing. it is an unusual choice, though. Like I'm trying to think. Like, if you're DT, what are you looking for? A sword upgrade?
The sword. It's the sword.
That's
is
literally
what he's
the only
looking
thing.
for.
He's got half magic. He's got red mail. So that's literally the only thing he would take. There is still one sword upgrade at large, though.
Yeah.
There's probably one in Ganon's tower, would be my guess.
So it looks like Laser Bridge is entirely optional, despite DT's key play, which is interesting because I mean I wouldn't be against him checking the Laser Bridge, right? Because there's 4 items on there. It's just like you're using a key which you could have easily used for the rest of the dungeon there.
We'll have to see if there's no justice in this world and he gets rewarded with a sword on the Laser Bridge for his weird routing.
You're not even going for it. Come on. What are you doing?
Well, I mean, having gotten that extra key from the roller room ended up kind of making it not matter.
I am not impressed, good sir. Why? Yeah.
Isn't even my final form going for the my least favorite chest, possibly in the game. I won't mention the name of this chest in Play Company, but I hate this chest.
Yeah, it is really annoying to root in.
Alright, so we get to see a Master Sword Trinex fight. I have a feeling we're going to be seeing some hammer switches from DT here. Yep.
This is such an annoying boss to hammer because for some reason some of the hits just don't seem to work when I try and do this. So I don't quite know what is up with that, but just it's supposed to take 5 hits as it did for DT there in order to get the first one down.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Cal. Do you remember to put on your parachute pants before it's hammer time? Because that's probably where you're messing up.
You know what? That's a fair point.
Lame jokes. So we see IsntEvenMyFinalForm is actually heading over to Cold Stare, so he is going to get his required pendant, even though he doesn't quite know it. His Troll Seed Spider Senses might be giving him the Pedestal vibe right now.
I actually completely forgot to see when DT cleared this if Cold Stare had an item from all of this. So...
Oh, just barely misses the Cold Stare setup there.
At least he has Tempered Sword though, so this is still significantly better.
Oh yeah, and half magic Fire Rod. He's not losing a ton of time on this.
Not really. The only thing with that, I guess, is since you're using so much magic, he didn't have an item, okay. Since you're using so much magic for the fight, it's going to take longer to fill up your magic at the end of this. Oh, the Lionels are really getting in the way here.
Yeah, they've given both runners the business already in this scene.
Yep. Alright, so we know what time it is. There are 22 items in Ganon's tower that could possibly have the big key. Where are we going to find it, chat?
I want to see number spam, 1 to 22. Do it, chat. Help us out. Alright, now if let's talk numbers here, Cal. If we're trying to get this race close, where do we want the big key to be? Obviously, the dream answer is Tile Room, and IsntEvenMyFinalForm decides to YOLO check it first, but that seems pretty unlikely. Oh, he's heading toward the pedestal.
There we go. Okay,
that's doing it.
Yeah.
The blind pull pedestal is about to be rewarded with an ice rod.
So
good on you, IsntEvenMyFinalForm. Yeah. Good on you.
That's really nice. So I would have said the not right side. I would have said at Ice Armors, but I don't even think that would be that big of a difference. Right, so Final Form is in go mode now. That is really good that he did this before doing the other 2 crystal, checking either of the other crystal dungeons.
DT with the swag, Samaria block dash there.
Yeah, I love those strats.
So, IsntEvenMyFinalForm is 2 dungeons behind, which sucks. But Meyer is going to be a super quick clear because the big key is very accessible. Yep. So he'll just walk straight down to Vitreous and kill him. And then he does have a Turtle Rock, which, according to Cal, can be routed much more efficiently than the way DT did it.
Well, to be fair, Final Form already has Tempered Sword, so he doesn't even need to check anything of that.
So we'll this gap is definitely closable, but DT definitely, DT does have a pretty significant lead here.
Oh, and there it is. Okay, that is interesting. Are we going to see a sword
He's
out
checking
of here
for
as
swords.
well?
Well, he's got plenty of small keys now, and plenty of rupees.
All right.
So if Isn't Even My Final Form doesn't stick with the current meta of checking right side first, he might be a little bit rewarded here when he heads up to Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, I will admit that is something which I've very heavily been doing since the start of V26. My old rule used to be if I got 2 small keys on that side, then I would go and check. But in V26, I've had it happen more often than not, where only having 1 small key and then checking right side has still worked. So kind of modified it a little bit, and that seems to be what most people do now.
I think the big reason a lot of people like checking the right side first is it just minimizes any discrepancy you might get from the key being over there. Because if you take a little bit of time to check that room and it turns out the big key's not there, okay, you're out maybe a minute or so.
Yep.
But if you go all the way to Ice Armos and then go to the right side, you just burned 4 minutes. So that's rough.
Absolutely. And that is something which I have practiced a bit more recently as well, is getting that right side done efficiently. Because as you say, if you can cut it down to about a minute or so, it really isn't that big of a deal. But if it takes you like 2-3 minutes to check that side, then it becomes much more annoying. And so you really just don't want to miss that puzzle, obviously, because then it starts becoming far less efficient to do that side. So if you are going to commit to the right side play, make sure you practice it well.
Yep, but that is very well stated, sir. The one thing I like to do that I don't see a lot of people do is I like to burn that the first Gyptos in that room with a fire rod. It just makes throwing the Samaria blocks around a lot less annoying.
Yeah,
doesn't take that much time either.
I burn the 2 Gyptos in there, and then I start chucking the blocks. And if I can get it set up right, then the 3rd Gypto actually turns to the right before it gets to the bottom of the screen, so you don't get interrupted throwing the block again at the end of it. DT not quite getting this here.
I seem to have cursed him slightly. I was praising his rock-solid ability for Silver Landmos earlier in the seed, so...
Yeah, I need to go back to the drawing board on that one, because apparently I've been missing that quite a lot as well recently, and it's something I used to get like 95% of the time, but I've been missing it way more often recently. So I need to go back and practice that a bit.
The vanilla setup for that tends to be, bonk against the north wall, and it puts you, lines you up quite correctly, and you can, listen to music cues. But all those things are harder in the Land Mode 2 fight, because not only is there not a music cue, but you've also got that annoying block at the corner spitting hot fire at you.
The fire spitter is what changes it a lot. You still have some sort of cue for it, because the way I usually look at it is you sort of hear like 2-3 rumbles coming out of the ground before they actually surface, and the second rumble is when I start shooting the arrow myself. So my cue is not with the music, but with the ground shaking stuff.
Oh, sure. And that's probably a good cue too, because it's consistent across both versions of the fight.
Yeah, it's nice that way.
DT is still sword hunting. We do not know where the last sword upgrade is. It's worth noting. So I mean, it could be in the all-important validation chest.
It's on Laser Bridge. That's what I want to say for it.
That's where you want it for maximum trolling.
Just for the spite of it now, just because.
Cal's still mad at DT for his tool rack routing, and it's been like 10 minutes. I love it.
Hey, I never said I can't hold a grudge on some things.
No, it's beautiful. I can respect it, sir. Alright,
yeah,
DT...
I love the way he set this up, because he got the slash with the Master Sword the first time, so that's 1 damage out of 6. The spin is 2 damage. If he did the second spin there, Moldon would have been in fast mode. It's the compass. There is no sword for DT.
The meme chest never pays out, man. It never does.
It's really funny when you get silver arrows out of there, actually.
That's true. Well, get out your protractors, guys. It's time for the Aghanim 2 fight. See if he can work the angles.
Oh boy. This is another one I need to put a bit of time into, so I don't, without using the spin strats. The spin strats are reliable, but they're not particularly great when you get this sort of angle set coming up, because it's really hard to actually hit with any of the spins here.
I would have to agree with you, and plus it makes the blue balls even more painful than blue balls are.
Yeah.
Kappa. I had to say that the one addition of that they added a while ago to kind of reinstate the blue balls into this fight, it doesn't make the fight more annoying and kind of makes planning your angles a little bit better. But man, is that annoying part of it super annoying. Because you can line up the shots and be like, all right, I only need one more hit, and then you get a blue ball and you're just like, why?
Yeah, I will say that I'm much more comfortable with it for the Aga 2 fight than I am with Aga 1, because it's just strictly a time waste then. Kind of the same with the Ganon teleports here. I completely understand why, I completely understand why they are here, but that doesn't mean I have to agree with them being here. It's like, I know it's to preserve the vanilla behavior and all of that, but it just lengthens the time of the run. It's really annoying.
Well, speaking of lengthening the time of the run, this is going to be a part of the game where IsntEvenMyFinalForm does have an up over DT. The only way to damage Ganon with a Master Sword is with sword spins.
Yeah, and I think DT realized that after the start, because I think he actually slashed at the beginning, and it's like,
he did, yep.
I actually can't do that.
His chest greed right toward the end of Ganon's tower was not rewarded.
This is
I'd say it's this second phase right here that is the most annoying with the Master Sword. Although having the cape and that great positioning of Ganon allows you to get 2 hits per spin slash, so
yeah,
quite fortunate for DT there.
Not quite enough to get it down though, unfortunately, because there wasn't a particularly great first phase here, and because he never bought potions earlier on, because that would have been my other caveat.
Does he still have that fairy?
Palace. He does. He never died, so that might change now.
I was gonna say, commentator's curse here.
But yeah, if I would have wanted to get potions before doing my daring fighter sword play into Ice Palace or whatnot before doing pod, so I may have still had 1 potion left at this point. But DT did not buy potions, so he's got the fairy, but no extra magic out of all of this.
Gonna be a pretty... Oh wow, he releases the fairy to not... That's smart. The reason DT does this is so he doesn't get kind of hosed by the fairy revival animation. Significantly reduces the odds of him getting knocked off the edge here. So, real smart meta play by DT there.
Yeah, and also it just saves a lot of time. If he was to die, then the animation time of him getting back up with the fairy is really long. But releasing... Stop moving! Don't stop moving, and apparently get it right. There we go.
He Matrix moves past it. GG to DT.
I do not have the official SRL time, though, because I was kind of last second in this. So hopefully... I don't know if you're in the race room or not, but... it'll be close enough anyway, right?
Yes. So yeah, DT does finish first place, and honestly, for a pedestal seed, a time of 1 hour and 42 minutes is a pretty solid time.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is really good, and that just shows you the power of the knowledge here, of going to check the pedestal early. Just gave so much more direction for this seed. Yeah, really, really solid play. Right, yeah, Jididu's telling me 1 hour, 42 minutes and 24 seconds for the SOL time, so...
Excellent.
Good
So
stuff.
we're going to be getting DT in for an interview shortly here. He's taking a quick post-race mind clear.
Yeah, well deserved on this one.
And we're seeing the power of the Tempered Sword here on the Trinex fight.
Yeah.
IsntEvenMyFinalForm definitely making a lot quicker work than DT did of Trinex here.
Oh yeah. And very nice there as well. That's something I have a lot of trouble getting as well, is the 2 spin strat on the final phase of Trinex at the start here.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to look. Or harder to line
really
up than it
is.
looks.
Really is. Yo, DT, GG.
Hey, Cal. Was not expecting to hear you.
Yeah, I made it in. How you doing?
I'm shaking like all crap right now, to be honest.
I can imagine.
I gotta ask you, DT, what were you thinking when you checked that pedestal?
Honestly, I actually wasn't shocked. Because it just seemed like after getting the fire rod, that the game was giving me a lot of items to defeat pendant dungeons. And I was just thinking, you know what, that's making the pedestal just a little bit more suspicious. So, flew it on over, checked that before deciding on going to pod, because pod was really one of the next big spots I wanted to check just for item density.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know whether or not going in, if I needed to actually full clear it.
Yep.
Yeah,
and honestly,
we were thinking that too.
Oh, go ahead, Cal.
I was just saying, we were thinking that too before you even went and got the fire rod and whatnot. We were looking at all the items you had and thinking, you've got the bow, you've got the hammer, you've got the lamp. So Palace of Darkness seems like a pretty tempting play right now. But then you went and got the fire rod from Catfish and checked the pedestal. It's like, right, okay, that's definitely it now then.
It was kind of funny when I had the lantern, hammer, and bow, and I'm just thinking, no, let me go do pod. Wait, it's a pendant. Crap, I can't get another crystal right now.
Yeah, it's really been a kind of a tale of your opponent. Unfortunately, did not find out about the pedestal knowledge at all. He actually blind pulled the pedestal for his ice rod.
Ooh.
So the the routing, kind of the pendant dungeons leading you around and getting items in them, definitely paid off for you in this seed.
Excellent. Well, that's good to hear.
So, I have to ask, because this has been bugging me for the last 15 minutes or so. What on earth was that turtle rock?
Cal was a little
specifically?
critical of your chest checking and key choices for some reason.
Alright, so...
Okay, yes, that.
You were looking for a sword, right?
Chest.
No,
Yeah,
I wasn't. When I got, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's down in that pokey room with all the anti-fairies and stuff, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. What happened was, when I was a bunny, I must have just gotten a little bit too close to that door, and I'm thinking, okay, well, hopefully, worst case scenario, it's just a small key behind it, and I'm breaking even. Yeah, that was not intentional to open that door by any means.
I was hoping it wasn't, because then you went and skipped Laser Bridge, and I was like, really? You're gonna check that chest, but you're not gonna check Laser Bridge?
You know what? If it just confuses you, then I like that story a little bit better. Yeah, I went out of the way, Cal, so that I could check something for a sword, and then I skipped 4 quick locations.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I thought I was gonna have to go find some rawhide for Cal to bite down on while we finished up the rest of that dungeon.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, 10 minutes into GT and he was still talking about it. It was good stuff.
I could have my friendly banter. That's the
But to highlight isn't even my final form. He chose not to go all the way down the right side of Ganon's tower, and with his tempered, he's definitely closing some of the time gap that developed in this seed with some solid execution at the end of this seed here.
Yeah, so part of the not checking the pedestal and therefore not being directed towards Ice Palace as relatively quick as you were, he did a lot of the overworld stuff with the Titansmith, Mirror, Hammer, etc. So he actually found Tempered Sword at Peg Cave, which was kind of cool. But,
Okay.
That was the difference in that sense, but by then it was much too late because you'd already known about the Ice Rod for a long time.
Yeah,
being able to go mode all those dungeons definitely helped you out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole thing with the blacksmith area, that was just one thing I was able to completely avoid.
Yep.
But yeah, I was wondering, where was there going to be another sword? Because I know I obviously didn't full clear Swamp. I didn't even full clear Ice. As soon as I found Ether, that was it. That was the last thing I needed.
Yeah, that was another interesting one because we're talking about it. Right, you just found a fire rod. Where are you gonna Titansmith back to back? Where are you gonna go? They're saying Ice Palace, but it's a pendant. I'd go there anyway. And then you found out about the Ice Rod straight after that. It's like, all right, I'm definitely going to Ice Palace now. It's like,
I'm trying to remember.
It would have worked.
Right after I learned about the pedestal, that's when I went to Pod.
Yes, that is when you went to Pod.
And then I did Desert because it was quicker. And then I think it was right after Desert, I decided to go on a little intel mission to see what medallions I even needed because I realized I don't have any. I
Yeah,
might need
and
two.
we really like that play too. You know, kind of being able to know when you are or are not in go mode with medallions is very valuable information.
I could have wound up searching, finding Bombos and Quake, thinking, okay, let me take my chances, my 66% chance.
And it would have failed both times.
Right, so I justified taking a little bit of time on that.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, who knows? You might find those items on the way to, you know, checking the Mire Shed or on the way up Dark Death Mountain. So
right, and Tower of Hera was a crystal, irregardless. So it wasn't a complete wash by any means.
No, not at all. So I think the only other interesting one I was looking at is you did Skullwoods, finished Skullwoods before you went into Ice Palace.
Yep, and there was a reason for that too.
Yep, I can imagine there is, which is why I'm asking.
Okay. The reason for that was I knew I was missing one item, and it was out of 2 locations, whether it be Mothula or that other backroom chest. And if Ether was there, then I didn't have to waste any time searching Ice Palace.
Yeah. I think that's what I ended up coming to the conclusion of as well, is in the end, is that, well, if it's there, you don't have to full clear ice. So
exactly, and I would have much rather that been the case.
So that seemed like a reasonable gamble.
Yeah.
We assumed that that's kind of what you were going for, because no one likes to full clear ice if they don't have to. That place sucks.
Right.
It's always just that interesting offset, because if you'd have done it the other way around, of course we wouldn't have known that you could have done it. But had you done it the other way around, you could have just pulled the ice rod there and then, and it would have, that part would have been saved. But you'd have taken longer during the dungeon. So I do prefer your reading for it. I'm not disagreeing with it. It's just I was curious at the time, and then I thought about it.
Yeah, no, by all means.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's not nearly as critical of that play as he was about your total rock play.
Yes, well,
the way it wound up is that I didn't have to go to Laser Bridge anyway, so
exactly.
we can look past that extra check, right?
Yeah.
Well, you and I can, DT. Cal's gonna need some therapy, and
It's all that Toho.
Alright, we got IsntEvenMyFinalForm taking out Agate M2, making his way toward Ganon. This will be another section of the end of the game here where he'll probably make up some time over DT's relative time just having this Tempered Sword.
Yeah, I liked the slash at the beginning of the fight, and then it's, oh wait, I can't actually do that.
That was another one of those things. It's like, oh crap, I can actually move a little bit here. I should have drawn the sword and at least started charging a beam.
Yeah.
Or a spin.
I guess he was a couple of hits too short though. It was like, how did he not manage to get the one cycle though? Because he got the 2 spins, and then the 2 spins down the bottom as well, but I guess he needed a couple of extra
yeah, he ended up with 3 spin hits and 1 slash, so I think he was just a little bit short. Which happens to me all the time. The timing for getting that cool trick where you bounce off the trident and get an extra spin in is a little tight.
Yeah, I'm starting to get used to that, but I'm still not getting the one cycle because I don't get enough slashes in to go with that. And I'm like 1 hit too short most of the time, which is a bit frustrating.
That's a pretty solid Ganon fight, minus that tiny little slip up in the beginning. But with Tempered and Silvers, should be pretty straightforward.
I loved your little dance around the fire in the middle of that fight, though, and the fire rings coming out.
That was scary.
I can imagine.
That was terrifying, because I knew I was 1 hit away from dying.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I had the fairy, but it got to a point I decided to just release the fairy, let it heal me before I take the time from a death cutscene.
Yeah, that's one thing we picked up on as well, which was really good. Alright. Shooting more than necessary, but that is fine. Final form just finishing up here as well. And as the cutscene draws to a close, final form finishing according to Doodoo with an official time of 1 hour 53 minutes and 10 seconds. GG. I'm sure he's going to be cursing that text out there, though, because you'll be thinking the winner most certainly is not me this time.
yeah, he's a winner on the inside for having successfully completed a very annoying pedestal seed and doing it under sub 2 hours, a very respectable time.
Absolutely.
You know, the way I see it is that even if 2 runners are essentially Ganon's Tower apart, it's still a close race, because there's so much that can go so wrong in this. So if you keep it that close, you're doing something right no matter what.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. Oh boy. So
yeah.
any other thoughts you want for this then? Anything else you want to say about this seed?
Not especially. I was going to try a slightly different opening route. That's why I started from Sanctuary first, and then I was going to go to Link's house. But then I found the flute, and I'm like, you know what? Whatever. Let's just go activate it.
Yeah, early flute definitely has an impact on your routing. You ended up routing escape a little bit later than your opponent, and getting kind of a later moon pearl could have affected things, but in the end ended up not making too big of a difference. Alright, looks like we're going to be getting IsntEvenMyFinalForm in. He's taking a quick post-race mine reset, and we'll get him in here.
Yeah, I think after a seed like this, you need that sort of reset.
Definitely.
And of course, by reset, I mean, you know, a little bit of wall punching for another pedestal seed. Collect your thoughts.
Yeah, which, speaking of, I just played a pedestal seed last night, too, as luck would have it.
Aww.
And actually, DT, I was just talking to Cal. I think the last race of yours I commentated was also a pedestal seed,
Okay,
so I'm
Files,
sorry.
you're banned. No more commentary for my seeds, ever. Feasible, you hear this? Files is a curse.
So I said, I think your opponents are going to start paying me to, like, sign up for your races, and then, you know, they'll just know that it's a pedestal seed.
And then it'll be blind pulls all the time.
Alright, let's see if we can't sneak IsntEvenMyFinalForm in here.
So this puts you at 3-1 now, correct?
That is correct.
So guaranteed playoff place at the very least, with 2 matches left to get yourself in for sure. That must feel pretty good.
It's actually a little more scary than anything.
Yeah, I guess because you've got a lot of very good people at 3-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton of great players. Honestly, there's a ton of... I mean, everyone that made this tournament is a great player. Minus me, of course. So I think that, you know, there are people that have had really tough matchups. I mean, you know, Christos, the winner of last tournament, is at 3-1. You know, you could end up facing him, you know, in the next round of the Swiss.
Yeah, speaking on tough matchups, I've had my fair share of those. Right, let's bring Final Form in here. Yo, GG, man. Hopefully.
Well, let's see if we can't get him going here.
At the very least, though, you know that you've got a good chance of getting through to the next round. That's got to feel pretty good here.
We shall see. That's really...
At the very least, a confirmed playoff spot. You know, it definitely has to rest a little easier on your mind. And the freeze ray sleeps again. Forever. Yeah, whatever. Screw you, Pedestal. We're tired of your shenanigans.
In some ways, I'd actually prefer to see it there than have to spend 40 minutes hunting for it in other areas, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain kind of knowledge or a certain niceness to the knowledge of a pedestal, is because sure, it's annoying to get, but you know, it's a randomizer and knowledge is half the battle. And you know, having definite knowledge of where an annoying required item is, after that point, it's just execution and routing. You know, how efficiently can I clear these places while still finding the other items that I'm missing?
Hey guys, just got the mic figured out.
Oh,
Yo.
awesome! GG,
Realized that I had it on press to talk, so.
Oh yeah, push to talk is always.
Yeah, GG, what a seed.
Yeah,
GG to you.
So
How
I'll
you feeling about
ask
that?
you the question that I think everyone is probably wondering: is what were you thinking while you were heading toward that pedestal, ready to blind pull it?
I thought there's no way this is going to be Ice Rod, but it had to be for me to stand a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your opponent unfortunately did have knowledge of the pedestal quite a bit earlier than you did.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Once I saw the dot done, I figured he had done a pedestal check, because I was just going on kind of just hope at that point, because all those pendant dungeons I cleared kind of found nothing in them, so I figured, well, the only hope is if pedestal has something.
I don't know about that. You had Kane of Samaria, a sword, and the boots in Palace of Darkness, and then Aoife was in Ice Palace, so...
Yeah, I
don't know about
suppose.
Nothing.
I guess I'm just thinking to our own Desert Palace, I guess.
Yes, because you did Desert early, and you couldn't get any of the items there because you did that before Palace of Darkness. So yeah, that must have felt really bad.
Yeah, and then when I found boots, I kind of banked on something being boots locked either in Desert or somewhere else, so...
Yeah.
And honestly, in this version of the logic, trying to go back to a pendant dungeon to find a required item is not a terrible play.
Yeah, I was kind of banking on the pendants to give me something, and I guess, yeah, I did get something out of some of them, so...
Yeah, honestly, both of you performed very well for a pedestal seed like this. I'd say anyone that gets under 2 hours in a ridiculous seed like this has done a good job, so well played to both of you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Thanks,
GG
Miles.
to DT, that's an awesome time for a pedestal.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to see that you weren't... Yeah, it's something I said before when you weren't in here. Even if 2 runners I consider to be only Ganon's Tower apart, more or less, is still fantastic as far as randomizer goes, so you gotta be proud of yourself, too, for your performance.
Yeah, any race I do, I kind of have a personal rule. If I'm, like, at least on my way to Ganon's Tower when the dot duns happen, I'm really happy about my performance, so...
Yeah, because the reality is with randomizer, you can't beat yourself up over it, because it's as the name implies, it's randomizer. Anything could happen, and you just hope for the best every time.
Yeah, I'd say
it's
the only thing you could
impossible to be consistent.
the only thing you could really beat yourself up over is accidentally opening up a door while you're a bunny in Turtle Rock.
Now look who's having the grudge here.
Neither one of you can commentate my matches again. Jeez.
All right, guys. Well, definitely well played. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up for my runners?
None whatsoever.
I'm just happy to get through that one.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I don't know about actually one thing quickly too. Final form. Did you have the IRC up for the majority of this, or all of it rather?
Yep, I had it up.
Okay. So, toward the end of Ganon's Tower, I started getting really nervous and shaking like crazy because I could see that Feasel was like timing out and then rejoining, and just seeing any text in the IRC channel just makes me freak out when I'm that close.
Yeah, when I was close to go mode there, and I completely missed your dot done because I was just kind of just like going for it, just staring at my screen, so I wasn't even looking at IRC. So it was probably like 5 minutes after you finished that I realized you had finished.
Yeah, I wish I could tune it out, but it's just always in my peripheral.
Yeah, even when you've got Live Split open instead that doesn't have the join quit stuff, it blinks a lot of the time whenever somebody joins and quits. So like you still sort of feel that, and it's like, oh, something moved on that screen. I've got to check it. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean with that.
Yeah, I know a lot of runners that will intentionally just close it out toward the end of a race, just so they don't have that distraction, so they can focus on the execution portion of the run.
Yeah,
I do that with weeklies. Yeah.
Yep, with regular races I do. With tournament races, on the exceedingly off chance that a tournament administrator needs to get in touch with you for whatever reason, I keep it up. Because there's not going to be any side chatter in it, like some other IRC channels.
Yeah, we don't need to name those.
Wow. All right, guys. Well, definitely well played. For those of you in chat, definitely stay tuned. We got more hot randomizer action coming up. I believe on this channel in maybe about 20 minutes or so, perhaps even sooner, we have the epic face-off between Jets and Problems IRL. So that should definitely be a real hot race, real spicy.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks again to our runners, and thanks again to Dude for doing some tracking for us, and thanks again to my co-commentator GamerCal for stepping up, so you guys didn't have to listen to me blather on solo.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, gotta step in for my pal DT, right? So it's been fun, definitely. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it as well. Stay tuned, as we've said, for chat and problems, and yeah, until next race, I will see you guys later.